We are. All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Representative Eskamani. We're about to start our virtual event focused on new legislation that we have filed with Senator Bobby Powell alongside other Democratic colleagues to fix the unemployment system. Please give us a minute as folks get settled into our Zoom room. We are here with other members of the legislature, with personal storytellers who have been directly impacted by the unemployment system, and of course, all of you that are tuning in. I did want to mention that if you are tuning in on Facebook Live, we are focused on new legislation we have filed to fix Florida's unemployment system. However, if you do need direct support, as I know many folks do, Team Anna will be sharing our escalation form in the chat throughout today's presentation. So if you need to get direct support, you're missing payments, or continuing to have a work hold, a return to work hold, we're going to make sure you have that support. So please tune in, share this feed with others. It's so important that not only do we address the needs immediately with the unemployment system, but that we look back at these last 10 months and realize that this system was designed to fail and did so epically. And we're here to fix it. And so with that said, my name again is Representative Eskamani, and I am super excited to help roll out this new legislation that we have been working on for months as legislative colleagues. Now, everyone here knows that the unemployment system doesn't care if you're Democrat or Republican or independent. An eviction notice doesn't care if you're Democrat or Republican or independent. These economic issues impact you no matter who you are. And we saw that during the COVID-19 pandemic, where folks were directly losing their jobs, facing financial circumstances they've never ever thought they would be in. Many folks navigating the unemployment system for the first time, and it has been a disaster, to put it bluntly. We have seen the Connect system continue to cause so much stress for everyday people, payments be delayed, forcing folks into economic straits that could have been prevented if we had a functioning, upgraded, modernized system with accountability measures in mind. And so with that said, I'm really proud to have filed this legislation, House Bill 207 and Senate Bill 592, to completely modernize and revamp Florida's unemployment system here during the 2021 legislative session. Of course, many of us have made a call for special session. We wanted this bill months ago. Let me be clear. We wanted to file this legislation months ago. And I do think I saw in the Zoom room Senator Jose Javier Rodriguez, who was initially helping to craft this legislation. He is not serving in office right now. We know he will get soon. But this legislation is a big part of his work as well when he was navigating the pandemic as an elected official. And I'm really proud to introduce our Senate sponsor, who's going to highlight parts of the bill alongside other legislative colleagues. And then at around 10:20, after hearing testimony from directly impacted people, we'll take questions from the press here in our Zoom room. So again, thanks so much for joining us. And Senator Bobby Powell, I'm going to pass it to you next.
Thank you, Anna, and I want to thank you all for joining us this morning. As you indicated, Senator Jose Javier Rodriguez, this was part of the immaculate work that he was doing here in the Senate. This bill that we are sponsoring and we'll be passing to change the way that we do unemployment here in Florida does a few things. For us, it's going to modernize access and strengthen benefits here for those individuals. As Anna said, an eviction notice doesn't see Democrat or Republican or independent. It will dramatically improve weekly benefit amounts from what it is currently. I believe it's like $225 to $500 per week, and changes the weeks that are available to meet the national average of 26 weeks. Remember the number of weeks that we have, we in the legislature, not us, but this happened in the legislature while we were here, that they switched the amount of weeks that you could get. Also, the work search requirements will be less burdensome, and there will be adjustments made for seasonal workers, farm workers, and state of emergencies so that folks can access their benefits without all of the red tape that we've seen recently added to the system that is absolutely an epic failure. Finally, It will require the Department of Economic Opportunity to provide at least 2 other ways for residents to apply for assistance in addition to submitting the application online or by mail. What we've seen is that there's a lot of people in our districts who don't have access to the internet. They have to go to a library or figure out some other type of way to get access. If people could call in for their benefits, and a lot of our people in our communities don't know how to use or don't understand the internet, this would make it a lot more accessible for people. Those are the points that I want to hit on in this new comprehensive legislation. And now I'll pass it on to Representative Ben Diamond. Thank you.
Rep. Diamond, I think you're muted.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. You'd think this was my first Zoom call, but unfortunately it's not. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Senator. Good morning, Representative Eskamani. Thank you both for your friendship and your leadership and your outstanding work on behalf of constituents and Floridians who have been impacted by this crisis. My name is Ben Diamond. I'm privileged to represent House District 68, which includes St. Petersburg and parts of Pinellas County. And folks, this discussion and this bill is long, long overdue. We have been in this crisis for months, and I am so glad that we are now finally back in Tallahassee to address these issues, because Lord knows that Floridians have been asking for relief and help in navigating the system for months. And from my perspective, we as a legislature, regardless of our party, have an obligation to hold those agencies accountable that are not performing the functions of state government well. And we have not been doing that. And that's been very upsetting to me, and I know upsetting to Floridians across the state. This bill is important legislation to bring about the legal reforms we need to our statute to make our unemployment system work better. And I couldn't be more proud of this work product. And I want to take just a minute to discuss 2 parts of the bill that I think are particularly important. The first is the bill creates a new office called an ombudsman office. One of the things we've learned through this crisis over the past months is just how many people have had difficulties navigating the issues at the Department of Economic Opportunity. And what this bill does is it creates a place in state government, a permanent place with the ombudsman to receive continuous feedback about how our unemployment system can be improved, and with a process for that ombudsman to bring those ideas to the legislature. This is very similar to, for instance, in state government, we have the position of the insurance consumer advocate. And their whole job is to be talking to consumers about insurance issues and bringing those issues up to the regulator. And it's clear we need to follow a similar path here. And I hope that that is an idea that we can all get behind regardless of our party. It's about making government work better. The second idea that I think is really important in this bill is just the idea that we're going to impose a deadline on our state agency to make a determination of eligibility. You know, we write laws all the time with deadlines, and this one is very important. We've had issues with folks trying to hear back from a state agency for months and not get any determination made, and that's just totally unacceptable. So this bill imposes a 3-week deadline on DEO to make a determination of a claimant's eligibility. We think that's a very important part in addressing the issues and the frustrations of the constituents we've been working with. So again, I want to thank all of you for your work. I want to just say that we look forward to working with members of both parties to try to get this legislation heard and passed. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Representative Eskamani, and thank you again for the opportunity to work on this with you.
Thank you, Representative Diamond. And for those who don't know, Rep. Diamond is our prime co here in the Florida House for this legislation. I did want to highlight for passing back to our senators, a few other House reps who are here, and senators. I see Senator Victor Torres. I see Representative Kevin Chambliss, Representative Travis McCurdy, Representative Robin Bartleman. And so thank you to our colleagues who are standing with us in solidarity from every corner of the state to support this legislation. So I'm now going to pass it back to our senators. And so Senator Janet Cruz is going to talk about how this bill helps increase access to benefits.
Thank you, Rep. Eskamani. I appreciate being part of this. We've all been hollering about the unemployment system, and a system that was designed and built around the premise that everyone is committing fraud, and they created more and more barriers. And under Governor Rick Scott, he reduced the weeks and reduced the pay, all in an effort to help big business. But times are different now, and people are out of work. Our unemployment rates are in the state of Florida is at 10%, one of the highest rates that our state has ever seen. And during the last 11 months, it's been painfully obvious how inefficient our current unemployment benefit system is in terms of delivering benefits that Floridians are owed. Another really, really important piece of this legislation is expanding access to these benefits so that more Floridians are actually eligible. The current system is really archaic, and like I said earlier, it's intentionally designed to ensure that fewer individuals are eligible so that the tax rate for corporations stays low. We need to focus on the people of our state, those people that desperately need assistance, not corporations. This bill will honestly create an alternative base period so that we can utilize the most recent quarter of wages instead of skipping it. And this is really important, a little bit complex, but important, because this ensures that our benefits are available for individuals with various employment backgrounds. And the legislation will also protect vulnerable workers by prohibiting denial of benefits for leaving a job, say for an illness or a disability, or to care for a sick family member, or perhaps you have to locate because a spouse got a new job, or if their employer moves somewhere that would force them to commute over an hour. I'm seeing that in the school system now. I'm seeing teachers as they're doing layoffs in Hillsborough County. I talked to one teacher who now drives an hour each way because they placed her in a school far from where she lives, and she has to take the job or lose her position. So, there are additional protections in place for victims of domestic violence, which is very important too if you have to leave a job because of violence. And these benefits will also be paid retroactively to the date of the job loss. And the system is set up now to force people to wait for a week or two without pay. So look, we know that there's so much that needs to be done to enhance the efficiency and fix the current unemployment benefit system in this state. It's a disaster. It's been an epic fail for Floridians when they needed us the most. And part of that conversation has to include expanding access to these benefits so that we aren't leaving the vast number of Floridians behind. And that's everything I have. Rep. Eskamani, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Senator. And I just want to highlight that Representative Carlos Guillermo Smith is also in the Zoom room. So thank you, Representative Smith, for being a part of this effort. I'm going to toss it to our last senator, and then we're going to open it up to our directly impacted folks, our unemployed Floridians and our small business owner who are with us today as well. So next will be Senator Lori Berman, and then we'll bring it to our storytellers.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Rep. Eskamani and Senator Powell for bringing this bill, and also Senator Rodriguez, who is on the call today. We have now been in this situation for 10 months. And during that 10-month time period, nothing has changed. My office continues to be inundated with calls from people who need unemployment insurance and are not getting it here in the state. So I am so happy that we are finally here in the Capitol. We are filing legislation, and we need to talk about this issue. And we need to talk about it because it affects individuals. And that's why I was going to focus a little bit on access to benefits, because it's the people of this state who are suffering. We have people, because of the pandemic, who have to leave their jobs and take care of their family members. That includes their spouse, their parents, their minor children. And yet, because they had to leave their job, they're not eligible for unemployment insurance. We have people, like Senator Cruz said, who's had to relocate because their spouse took a job in another place. Or we have companies that have actually moved also and made the commute untenable for people, and yet they're not entitled to unemployment benefits. And as we all know, domestic violence has increased because of the pandemic. People are at home with their abusers. It's a very terrible situation. And we need to make sure that we protect people who are subject to domestic violence. And one of the ways that we're doing this in this bill is to say that if you cannot go to your job because you are worried that your abuser knows where you work and will come attack you, you can get unemployment insurance in that situation. So I am so proud to work with all the senators and representatives who are on this call to make sure that we make this change for all Floridians so that we don't have to be inundated in our office anymore with phone calls with desperate people who need help. So it's about time that this Florida legislature start talking about these issues and get to work doing something about it. So thank you so much for bringing this good piece of legislation forward, and I hope that we can get it heard and passed this legislative session.
Awesome. Thank you, Senator Berman. For folks who are watching asking, how can I help? You know, we just filed these bills. The first thing you can do is contact your state House representative and your state senator and ask them to co-sponsor House Bill 207 and Senate Bill 592. Again, for those who are watching and wondering, how can I help? You want to contact your state lawmakers here in Florida and ask them to co-sponsor this legislation. Once we have committee assignments, then we're going to call on you to help us get a hearing. But step one is just names on the bill, supporters on the bill. And so please help us do that. I am now going to toss it to our personal storytellers to each just share a little bit about why they support this legislation. We know that there are millions of Floridians who have to navigate the unemployment system, both as unemployed people and as employers. And it's been a nightmare on all fronts for folks, but it's also, even when it does work, the reality is that the benefits aren't enough to really carry you through. So first up is going to be Joshua Vasquez. Joshua is a UCF student and currently an unemployed Floridian. And so Joshua, please share with us why you support this bill.
Thank you, Representative Eskamani, for inviting me here today. And thank you for introducing this legislation along with in the Senate, Senator Powell, who's my senator from back home in Palm Beach County, and for all the legislators that have co-sponsored it as well. At the onset of the pandemic, I was a full-time student at UCF and working part-time, and I was essentially furloughed, and my determination after I applied for unemployment was $112 after taxes, and which was much less than I was even making as a part-time worker. And without the CARES Act, I don't really know what I would have done, especially with off-campus housing, not really doing much to assist students with rent either. And thankfully, I was able to find work for the last 4 to 5 months of the year, but now I find myself unemployed again. And of course, my 12 weeks have been exhausted. And without, again, federal assistance with this new bill Congress has passed, I would be out of luck. So, I'm here waiting for the new pandemic unemployment assistance. And we desperately need to catch up to other states. Like Representative Eskamani said, 26 weeks is the average for the amount of weeks you can get payments. And of course, we need to raise both the minimum and maximum payments that Floridians can receive. So just thank you again for introducing this crucial legislation. Hopefully, with the bipartisan support we already have, we can get some more legislators on board. Back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joshua. I was really proud to have you here, and thank you for sharing parts of your personal story. Now bringing it back to my district, House District 47 in the Milk District. I'm really proud to bring to the virtual stage Sue Buttery, who is a small business owner of Juice Bar. And so Sue, please go ahead and share us a little bit of why you support this legislation as a small business owner and as someone who has friends who've been unemployed. I think you might be muted still.
Okay. Thank you, Anna, for having me today. I've been a small business owner in Central Florida since 1995. And as Anna said, I've owned and operated Juice Bar in the Milk District for the past 8 years. You all don't have to be told how hard 2020 was on all small business owners across our state. it proved to be the toughest year of my career. But what I think proved even tougher was Floridians trying to access their rightful benefits to unemployment. I had a family of 3 from New York move down on March 18th, and they stayed with me until May 27th. So they were here for 10 weeks because they both lost their jobs in the restaurant business in New York. On the drive down on March 18th, they applied through the state of New York for their unemployment benefits, and they received them starting on March 24th. It only took 6 days for them to start receiving their benefits. And all they had to do was sit down every Sunday night and submit a 6-question form on New York's website. And they got their benefits every Tuesday morning deposited to their bank accounts with 0 hassles. This is in stark contrast to what went on in Florida. I have a very good friend of mine who owned a bar and also managed another bar in downtown Orlando. And as you know, on March 17th, the bars were forced to shut down. She tried to navigate our unemployment system for over 6 weeks to no avail. I finally connected her with Anna Eskamani, and she received her first benefit check at the end of July, 4.5 months after she lost both her incomes. So obviously our unemployment system here needs to be fixed. And I'm very appreciative of all the co-sponsors for this bill, and I hope it passes bipartisanship. Also, I just got a notice this week that my reemployment tax rate has increased just a mere 0.2% from 2.7 to 2.9%. This small increase does not bother me at all if it will ensure that all Floridians can get the help when they need it most, when they're unemployed. I think everyone needs to recognize that when people can meet their cost of living demands, and if they have any extra money, it will be spent back in our economy. So it can be a win-win situation for everybody. I again want to express my support, especially to Anna Eskamani. She personally helped out 4 of my friends receive their unemployment benefits. And thank you to all the lawmakers for putting this bill forward.
Amazing. Thank you, Sue. It's an honor to have you here. We love our small businesses, and you are a part of this work. And thank you for being here and adding so much to our community and to our economy. I'm going to toss it next to Charlie Petrus, who comes from Miami, but is attending University of Florida. He was formerly at Regal Cinema, and he's going to quickly share a little bit more about his support of this legislation, and then we'll be ready for some questions.
Representative Eskamani, and thanks for hosting us here, all the lawmakers as well. My name is Charlie, and like you said, I'm a UF student. I'm currently doing my 2nd year master's program. And I'm in support of this bill, especially because of the fact that, like Representative Eskamani said, this program was already designed to fail from the get-go. And what this pandemic has really shown more than anything, not just in Florida, but across this country, is that it's exacerbating the problems that we've already had in place in many places of our society. And this is just one of them. And frankly, it took me about 2 months to even get through to the office, either through phone or online, and then another about 3 weeks to about another month before I was finally being able to submit my application and getting benefits. So it was a rough process. And also, Senator Powell, thank you so much for your increases in the benefits. I think that's the biggest thing about it too. Many Floridians need that. It's just not enough, especially when rent is so much. And Representative Diamond, I appreciate a lot of your oversight proposals. Those are sorely needed, especially when it comes to how efficient this needs to be able to run, and also providing accountability and integrity in the system and making sure people were actually getting their benefits in a reasonable manner and actually getting the help that they need. So I appreciate everyone here so much. I think this is a really good bill. Contact your representatives. This is a big thing we need to do moving forward.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Charlie. And I did want to again thank our personal storytellers for being here. It means a lot to have your endorsement of this legislation. We filed this legislation for people, for you. And so thank you for being a part of it. I did see Representative Marie Woodson join the Zoom room. So I want to say thank you to Representative Woodson for being here. And before we open up for questions, and just so our press know, we're going to basically allow you to unmute yourself shortly. So if you are not talking, please do mute yourself for the sake of background noise. But Senator Torres, I think, wanted to add something quickly. So I think you have the ability to unmute yourself, Senator, as a co-host. And so if you want to go ahead and do that and share a few quick words, that would be awesome. And then we'll get ready to unmute the line and allow our members of the media to ask questions.
Well, thank you, Anna and Senator Powell, for this tremendous bill. I just want to touch on one subject that a lot of people fail to realize, that most of our constituents, especially in the minority community, were working 2 or 3 jobs. And when you work 2 or 3 jobs and you're not working 40-hour work week to make sure that your eligibility when it comes to unemployment is understood, that that's what you made to balance out your budget in your house. I also feel that we need to have a walk-in system like they used to have years ago. I, for one, did apply for unemployment years ago when I first got to Florida. And I know that I walked into a building, a state building, where I could walk in and apply for unemployment. So this is something that we have to go give our constituents the ability, if they don't have online capability, or they don't have a phone, that they can walk in and fill an application. I mean, these are the things that we need to work on. And I'm hopeful that the other side will decide to cooperate and help us in this endeavor. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator. I appreciate that. So we're going to go ahead and allow folks to unmute themselves in the Zoom room. So if you are a member of the media, I put in the chat that you can use the chat to ask your question directed at anyone in particular, or you can unmute yourself and speak. I do see just a quick comment in the chat. Hello, Eskamani. This is Jessica with Fox 35. Has legislation been filed yet? Yes, it has been filed. And so if you got this morning's media advisory, you will see the legislation linked, but I'll put it in the chat so in case folks don't have it. But it is House Bill 207 and Senate Bill 592. So I just put that in the chat for members of the media to have it in case you need it. With that said, any questions from the media? We'll take a pause and see what folks have on their minds.
Hello, this is John Kennedy from Gannett, USA Today. Good morning.
Hello, John.
I just had a kind of a general question regarding, I wondered if you had any early response at all from Republican leaders to this legislation. I would imagine they were anticipating it in some form. I also wonder your thoughts a little bit, and others, on the Republican leaders seem to have not given any attention to this issue. Other things such as the eviction moratorium, a number of kind of real basic pocketbook issues, I guess, that have been out there, with the exception of the civil liability reform that they are advocating for, that does have some potential impact for small businesses, I guess. There seems to be a little bit of a disconnect from a population that is struggling out there in Florida. Your thoughts?
I would agree with you, John, and I'll provide a response, and Senator Powell can speak on behalf of what he's seeing in the Senate side on this legislation. I will say that not only is there a disconnect between the consensus within the legislature of what needs to happen, because again, Republicans and Democrats have been fielding calls from the Floridians unemployed. And even while I've been in the building back here in Tallahassee, there have been a few Republicans who have thanked me for my Twitter feed, as it's been a source of information for them and their staff as well. So I think the reality is that all of us have been dealing with this crisis and are trying whatever we can to help people get their benefits and be able to survive through this pandemic. And it's really just elevated the holes in the system that were created by Senator Rick Scott, and current leaders were complicit to it. And I think that a lot of lawmakers campaigned on this issue. Many Republicans campaigned on fix the unemployment system. And this package is an omnibus package. It's the legislation that many of us are anchoring ourselves in because it's so comprehensive. But I think we will see other piecemeal bills filed as well. And ultimately, our goal with this legislation is that it sets the golden standard of what actually needs to happen. So when we have conversations with our Republican colleagues, our piece of the proposal is crafted and ready to go. To that point, it's also a disconnection between everyday people. In fact, the State Innovation Exchange 6 did a poll back in the summer asking Floridians about COVID questions and economic questions, and they found that nearly 2 in 4 Floridians support extending the length of laid off workers what they can receive from unemployment benefits. That was 2 in 4 Floridians want to see these extensions. So I do think it's incredibly popular among everyday people. And I'm sure those who are tuning in on Facebook now would agree that you cannot survive off $275 a week. You cannot survive with only 12 weeks of benefits on a sliding scale. This system, as Senator Cruz said, was designed to say no to you. It was designed to push you out, not to bring you in and give you the resources and then find a new job. So I haven't had any initial conversation specific to this bill yet, John, but I'm very hopeful that it'll be seen as a not a partisan effort, but really as a collaborative one to fix this system and get us upgraded. Senator Powell, if you have anything you want to share on the Senate side.
Thank you, Anna. And John, what I would say is on the Senate side here, this is almost an issue that you cannot ignore. Some of my Republican colleagues have not addressed the issue yet, but I would believe that this is an issue that cannot be ignored. And I believe that on this side, we will be able to move the legislation, have some conversations centered on what has happened with unemployment. And I'm hopeful and I remain cautiously optimistic that if we can't pass the entire bill, we would definitely have pieces of it implemented throughout the legislative process, because it's a comprehensive bill. It covers everything. And really it does a lot of what needs to be done. Those of us who've dealt with this, and not only us who are Democrats who dealt with our people being unemployed during the summer, Republicans have dealt with this as well. So I would say that it's almost impossible not to take this as a serious piece of legislation that needs to be passed, or to take it into serious consideration in terms of moving it forward. I'll be having a lot of conversations with my colleagues, and I'll be able to give you a better, I'll be able to give you a better temperature in terms of how quickly we'll be able to move it through the process. But I'm very, very optimistic.
Thanks so much, Senator. And the fact that today we had not only a Floridians who are unemployed, but also a small business owner speak so eloquently on why they see this bill as being essential. It gives me a lot of hope for the grassroots efforts to get a hearing and to push this bill forward. As I've said in the past, when asked, will the legislature support reforms? My response has always been, it's people power that's going to get it done. And it's the millions of Floridians who've been through this process that now know who their state elected officials are, and either you help them or you didn't. Either you're going to co-sponsor this bill or you're not. And so, I do think that there's a whole new degree of engagement from the greater public, and we're definitely going to be doing our part to connect the dots for folks and get them involved in the process. Any new questions that folks have? I know we're a little bit over time. We're cool with that. But we want to make sure that members of the press can get their questions asked. Going once. Oh, Tom Irvin has a question in the chat. Okay, so at the end of the Zoom call, can you briefly address legislation that is part of another Zoom presser also going on right now? Oh, yes, Tom, we can do that. I want to wrap up this conversation and get us off Facebook Live, but yes, I mean, the irony right now, as we're talking about unemployment issues, there are others that are pursuing an anti-abortion agenda, talking about restricting reproductive rights. So, and those are unfortunately Republican colleagues. So you can definitely see the contrast already of prioritization this session. And we're going to continue to not only respect bodily autonomy and equity and women's rights, but we're going to push for fixing the unemployment system. And something that we didn't mention today, just so y'all know, is how damaging the unemployment system has been towards all people, but especially women. And women of color are in fact one of the largest groups of unemployed Floridians right now. Last month, this country lost 140,000 jobs, and they were all women. And so we're here to focus on the needs of everyday people, the needs to make sure that a mama can feed her children, that a dad can pay his rent. And that's why we're here. And we also understand that when folks can pay their bills on time, they can take care of themselves and one another and live a wholehearted life and get back to work. And so I will speak to that more directly, Tom, once you wrap up. But thanks for being here and lifting up the question. Okay, let me see. I think Senator Torres wanted to add something real quick as well. Senator Torres? No, you're good. Okay, never mind. All right, cool. Any other questions that folks have? If not, we'll get us off Facebook Live. I hear an unmuting. Okay, awesome. Of course, if members of the media have more direct questions for those who spoke today, please feel free to contact people directly. If you want to hear more from our storytellers, then just contact my office and we can help connect you as well. But from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us, and just to remind people that if you want to help get this bill heard, then the best steps you can take right now is to contact your state House representative and your state senator. Those websites are myfloridahouse.gov and flsenate.gov. You can learn who your state elected official is. Remember, we are separate from members of Congress. We represent you in Tallahassee. And so contact those members, ask them to co-sponsor House Bill 207 and Senate Bill 592. We need all hands on deck to get this bill a hearing, and we want to make sure that you're a part of the process. And if you do need direct unemployment support right now, this second, I know in our Zoom and in our Facebook Live feed, we've been posting the escalation form for you to contact our office for assistance, and we will continue to have your back in delivering immediate resources, and of course, looking at the long-term efforts to fix this system. Because here's the deal, y'all. We're in the situation we are today because political leaders broke the unemployment system on purpose. And that's why we're here today, to bring it back to the 21st century, to fix it, and to create a system that is not going to torture you, but it's going to support you. And so with that, I want to say thank you again to all of our incredible colleagues. This has been our rolling out of new historic comprehensive unemployment reform legislation. And we'll continue to keep you posted as we fight to get this bill heard and moved through our committees and onto the governor's desk. And so thank you again, everyone. Have a beautiful day, and we'll talk to you soon.